the terrestrial transitional situation, or the terrestrial gospel. Had to do this outside because everybody's still sleeping inside. Lord doesn't wake me up when everybody else is awake. Plus, it'd be too noisy. It's a mental gospel. It's 2 great commandments come into effect of love God, love your neighbor, which brings it from a transitional situation of exactness to you have to think about it transition. So it's a mental knowledge-based gospel that's going to make you think about, is it right, is it wrong, is it good, is it bad. It's to help you to transition your mind to seeing truth, light, understanding, and comprehension. The transitional point of this gospel is the faith without works. Works without faith. So at first it's all about the works. You're supposed to walk so many steps on Sunday, do this on Sunday, do that on Sunday, do not do this, do not do that. Where the transitional point here is to transition you to faith. It's the mind. You don't gain the faith without doing some of the works. So you have to start with the works, and then you gain the faith, and then you start doing some of the works again, and the Lord starts speaking to you and gives you more faith. So it's kind of an amplification of what your faith is, and it grows from there. The thing that you need to overcome is the natural mind, or the natural man. Now, you've worked on the natural man in the past gospel to be able to overcome the natural man, but now you've got the mind that you're fighting with, and you were fighting with it the whole time in overcoming the natural man, or the physical body. But this time you get to overcome the mind, which is starting to curve the appetites of the mind, starting to align where the mind's thinking and align what the mind is thinking about. You have been given 5 senses to navigate this world, to be able to see, hear, smell, feel, touch, heat, warmth, all sorts of different senses that are out there that will allow you to be able to understand and see the things that are there. In this gospel, there is baptism. Okay, you're given the gift of baptism. But Joseph Smith says that if you haven't had the baptism of fire, the day of Pentecost, which the apostles had, same thing, baptism of fire. If you don't have that, the first baptism is absolutely worthless because you haven't been cleansed. When you're given the gift of baptism, you're given the gift of the Holy Ghost, and you're told to receive such. If you're not doing the things to receive it, you're not going to get the baptism of fire. We'll talk a little bit about that. He teaches us to pray always. He teaches us to watch and pray. He teaches us to look. He teaches us all these things that point us to the next direction. I mean, Moses was saying, look into the serpent. Well, the serpent is a celestial situation we'll talk about later. It's a kundalini situation that the gurus talk about. He teaches you to go to your prayer closet. Well, the true Greek translation of that is treasure closet. And for him to tell the people in the time of the peasants that he was talking to that had 1-room homes, go to your treasure closet, he would literally be making fun of them. He wasn't making fun of them. He was trying to tell them to go to a place where they could connect with God. A celestial place on this earth within your own body that you can transition your mind to get to that point. We're going to talk about that also. Where you look is where you dwell. So where your focus is, where your prayer is continually, is where you dwell. So if you dwell in Facebook, if you dwell in texting, if you dwell in the multitude of distractions that the world has put out before us, Skype, whatever they are. Where you dwell is where you dwell. Where do you want to be? Where do you want to transition to? Praying always brings you into the correspondence where you're always with God. That's why he tells you to do it. That's why he tells you to stay away from these idols that we worship with our phone, that we worship with what we do and how we do it and how we say it. Okay? So, in doing these things, we are changing the direction of our focus, changing the direction of our look, and in doing so, we are coming unto Him. There's 5 covenants that we make in the temple of the Lord. I'm not going to go into detail of what they are, but Joseph says we stand under condemnation because we say them and do not do them. That is why the church is under condemnation. It's because we say our covenants, but we don't do them. Start doing those 5 covenants. If you don't know what they are, start listening when you go to the temple so you can learn what to do. These covenants bring you into the presence of Christ, bring you into the presence of truth and light, bring you into the presence of knowledge and understanding. Okay, so everything's pointing us to go to Christ, go to the light, go to the way, follow the path. All of these things give us the tools to get to Him, but if we don't do it, we can't do it. Okay? The whole time Christ was here on the earth, He was never pointing us to go to Himself. He was always pointing us to go to the Father. Learn that lesson. Even now, we are to still go to the Father, because the Father has the Christ has transitioned. As He said, "Touch me not, Mary, for I have not yet ascended unto my Father." Many scriptures teach us that Christ ascends to the next level of His generation. He says, "I've only done what I've seen my Father do." Wow. Take that in perspective. Think about all the things that He did, and His Father did them all. Also, He was tried and tested in no thing. Oh, His Father was too. Some cool things that you learn by taking literally what they say. Okay, there are steps. There are grace steps. Karen Peer is probably, well, there are 2 other men that were supposed to bring this truth forward, but they didn't step up. So Karen, 3rd in line, got to step up. And oh, she did a beautiful job. We were at the Zion conference, and we got to hear her speak. And I've listened to her talk, I bet 50 times, and I didn't get it. I got portions of it. She talks about a grace step up, which the world calls beginner luck. It's a child taking 4 or 5 steps across a room with perfection. God giving them, this child, a grace step up. This is how you do it. This is how it can be attained and accomplished. He shows us how to do it, and then He pulls us right back to the level that we were at before, so that 2 weeks later the child starts to walk again. He starts to walk across the room. He starts to design the ability to do this. So He gives them a grace step up, and then He puts them right back at the level we are at. He could give us a grace step up in faith and hope and charity and love, but then He takes us right back down to the level that we are at. Okay? He could give us a grace step up and give us a day of perfect peace, and then the next day we have no peace. We understand, where did that come from? That's not fair. We get frustrated. It happens. But He's just given us a grace step up so that we can learn to attain it again. We can know that it's possible, and then we're going to say it's not possible. Or we're going to say, it seems so impossible, but yet I did it. The Lord allowed me to do this. He gave this to me. He gave this gracious thing to me. Okay, I'm going to go into detail on the next phase of this, but I'm going to pause now because if I talk too long, people don't want to hear what I have to say. So, we're going to talk about Grace Step Up and how it has to do with Celestial.